Better, there we go. Hey, yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, the Young Filipino, and we're coming at you with another video. Today, I'm gonna bring you a nice chili recipe. We're gonna be making chili. We're gonna be using our Dutch oven. I'm gonna show you guys all the ingredients I'm gonna be using in just a quick moment. But I just want to give you a quick introduction to today's video. Thank you for clicking on this. If you like this, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you're not part of the gang already, you know, hit that subscribe button and leave a comment down below with your favorite part of this video, your favorite ingredient, your chili recipe, and just let me know what's going on. Let's get it. We'll get to these ingredients right now. To start off this chili recipe, we're going to be using ground beef. This is probably about 1.25 pounds of brisket ground beef that I ground up myself, vacuum sealed. Carrot, about 3/4 of an onion, just because that's what I already have cut up, and I'm gonna use what I have. Half a bell pepper, red. I'm gonna be trying this recipe out with a pasilla pepper, or 1 jalapeno, some tomato paste, peeled tomatoes, San Marzano, straight from Italy, you already know. Bone broth. Spice wise, we have cayenne, oregano, paprika, chili powder, garlic powder, onion powder, ground cumin. We'll be using a few bay leaves. And the ancient Chinese secret, you feel me, is we'll be using a little bit of cinnamon. I also have about 5 cloves of garlic, salt in my salt box. We have fresh ground pepper in there. So we're gonna get all these ingredients chopped up. I put the pasilla pepper in some foil because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this and roast it over the stove. I have an electric burner, so we'll see how this turns out, but we want to get this nice and smoked out and get some black pieces on it, and then we'll peel the skin off. But while that's going, we're gonna chop our vegetables. I'll bring you guys over to the stove and we will get to cooking. Let's go. Dutch oven is heating up right now. I'm gonna go in with a little bit of beef tallow in the bottom. I don't like using cooking oil or anything with seeds, any type of seed oils. I like to try to keep it as healthy and natural as possible. Start with the beef, adding the juice and all. So I'm just gonna give this ground beef a slight brown just to cook it through a little bit. I'm gonna be using a wooden spatula. Break it up. This beef it's pretty fatty, so it will have a nice amount of grease. Ew, you guys see that hair? This beef is pretty fatty, so you will see a bunch of grease at the bottom of this. It just depends on the fat content on your ground beef. This brisket that I had was pretty fatty, so we will have quite a bit of grease at the end of this. And I'm not going to take any of that grease out. Just let this cook. We're sitting on about a 5, about a medium low on the temperature. We'll let this cook down. Our pepper is roasting away. We'll give it a quick check here if we don't burn our hands on it. That's really hot. Let me see if I can check this bad boy out. I'm sure it needs more time, but I just want to give it a quick peek. Oh yeah, we're looking pretty good here. We're gonna give that a few more moments and let it really extract some smoky flavor out of the skin. I'll turn it up just a bit. But yeah, we'll just let that thing keep roasting and doing its thing. So this beef is going along. Just want to brown it up a bit. And at this moment in time, I will add a bit of salt and pepper to it just to season up the beef, because we want this beef to taste seasoned. So I'm going to go in with a healthy pinch of salt. I'm going to go in with a healthy few pinches of black pepper. And we're just going to let this cook down till it turns brown. We're not going to get any type of deep color in it because we have a bunch of stuff to add. that needs to cook with it as well. So we just want to get this pink color out of it. And I'll come back to you with the next step. Alright, so at this point, we're getting a lot of grease coming out of the fat from the ground beef. We still have a little bit of pink left in here. And at this stage, this is where I'm going to add the onion, carrot, and bell pepper. Just throw it right in there. And let those soften up. We're not going to get any color on them. We just want them to start to cook down just a little bit. Start getting those things up to temperature. Start cooking them down. This will take, you know, anywhere from 2, 5, even up to 10 minutes. Now this is a lot of ground beef. If you don't want to use this much ground beef, don't use this much ground beef. Use a pound, use half a pound. Use a mixture of Italian sausage if you want to. But I'm just using some plain old ground beef that I've ground up from brisket. And I want a good hearty chili. And this is what we're doing. So we'll let that cook down, and I'll come back to you with the next step. Alright, so at this point, I'm taking off the pasilla pepper. I can smell it. It smells really good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unpeel it from the foil. As you can see here, it's looking pretty good. And I'm going to stick this inside of a bowl with the lid and let it sweat out so it'll separate the skin from the flesh. Alright, so these onions, pepper, red pepper, and carrot are coming along nicely. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in the jalapeno to this, and I'm also going to add some of that tomato paste. You really want to add this tomato paste at this point just because it's going to help coat all of the vegetables and the meat, and it'll be able to cook down and really incorporate with all of these flavors. It's really going to help bind things together. So I'm going to grab the jalapeno in there now and throw all of it with the seeds. I'm going to grab my tomato paste, and I'm going to squirt a good amount of tomato paste in here just because there is a lot of meat. So I'm going to probably put 3, 4, 5 tablespoons of tomato paste in here. If you don't have as much meat, don't use as much tomato paste. It's not that necessary. If you don't have tomato paste, don't use it. So I use probably about half of this. I've used probably about half of this container, and we're gonna cook down that tomato paste with the jalapenos. Let me get my wooden spoon, and we're just gonna incorporate all these flavors together and let them get all nice and happy. That tomato paste has a very deep, robust tomato flavor that you really want to add into this chili. If you don't want it to be too tomato-y, don't add it. If you don't have it, if you can't find it, not a big deal. You put in whatever ingredients you really want. It's your chili. That's the one thing that's cool about cooking, is it's pretty creative, and you can just use whatever you have, whatever you want, the flavors that you like. Just add in whatever you want. So yeah, that's looking really nice. It's coming out to a real nice red color already. And we're gonna cook this down for just a little bit longer. And I'm gonna go process this pasilla chili real quick so I can get it incorporated to the mix as well. Alright, now at this point I did just chop up that pasilla pepper. I took off some of the skin, and that's going into the mix as well. Let's stir this bad boy up. It's coming together nicely. Oh yeah, this is looking nice. Now at this point I am going to preheat my oven to about 300 degrees. We'll go 325 because we are going to let this finish cooking in the oven. The thing about cooking on a stovetop is you're only getting heat from the bottom. When you finish something off like this in the oven, you will get the heat coming from all directions, especially in a Dutch oven like this. You'll definitely want all that heat coming from more than just the bottom of the pot, and it'll just incorporate everything really nicely. So at this point, I'm gonna make a nice little well in the middle, and I'm gonna add in my freshly cut garlic, because I'm gonna add in some of those tomatoes in just a moment, and the bone broth. You don't wanna add in the garlic too early, because you don't want this garlic to burn. And if you add it too early, it has a high potential to burn. So we will add all of this garlic in. Let it become fragrant, and then we will mix it all together. As soon as you start smelling that garlic in there, I would suggest you to start mixing everything in. Now with this step, I'm actually going to taste this beef to see how it tastes, if it needs any more salt or pepper, which I'm sure it will need. Just going to give this a quick little taste. It's coming together quite nicely. I'm going to add just one more big pinch and a half of salt. I'm gonna add a bit more pepper to the mix. Pepper, pepper, pepper. Mix that all in there. And then at this point, I'm gonna start adding in the rest of the spices. And the reason why you want to do it at this point is because spices are oil soluble, meaning they will release more of their fragrance in oil rather than at any other point in this process. So I am going to grab some oregano, and I'm not measuring any of this, but if you guys want measurements, let me know and I can definitely give you the measurements. I just kind of go by eyeball and feel. This is going to be a big pot of chili, so it's going to need a lot of spices. Going in with a bunch of oregano. We're going to go in with a bunch of chili powder. Probably about that much. I don't know if you guys can see that. Probably about that much. Maybe even a little bit more. Maybe about that much. We're going to come in with a little bit of cayenne. Not too much. I don't want it to be too spicy, but we'll hit it with just a little bit of cayenne. We're going to go in with some paprika. This is going to add a little bit of flavor, but mainly this is going to add our red color. I mean, everything we're adding to this is going to be relatively red, so we're going to add a bunch of paprika in the mix. I can already smell that chili powder blooming right now. We will add a bit of garlic powder. Even though we put fresh garlic in it, this dry garlic powder right here will definitely add a bunch of flavor. We're gonna add a little bit of onion powder in there. Like I said, we have fresh onion in there, but this onion powder will definitely be a game changer to the flavors of this. So we'll add some onion powder to the mix. We're also going to be adding some of this ground cumin. Cumin is a very strong flavor. If you guys don't like cumin, don't use that much. But I'm gonna go in with a small bit of it here. This is what's really gonna give your chili its chili flavors, that ground cumin. So we'll go in about this much, and we'll also taste this to see how it tastes before the final product is done. And last but not least, we're gonna go in with some of this ground cinnamon, some of that ancient Chinese secret. You don't need a lot of this, you just want a little bit of a in the background, so definitely be very sparing with the ground cinnamon. So that is all of those ingredients. For spice wise, I'm gonna get all of this incorporated. Oh yeah, this smells amazing right now. So we're gonna get all of this mixed up. And another thing too is we're gonna add some broth to this. I'm gonna turn this down just a bit so nothing burns. We're also gonna be adding some broth to this, and that broth is really going to mild out a lot of these flavors. So if you want to go heavy on the spices, it's okay, because I'm going to add in some broth that'll really like tone down a lot of these spicy flavors. So this is looking really good. I'm gonna give this another quick taste to see how the spice level is. So let me grab my spoon. We're gonna go in with another quick little taste of the meat. And I'm gonna go in with a little bit more chili powder. Just a bit more chili powder. And just a bit more of the ground cumin. Because I think it needs just a little bit more of a punch. Other than that, all these other flavors are really coming together nicely. I'm gonna stir this in to incorporate. And then our next step, what we're gonna do right now, is we are gonna add in our tomatoes. Now these are, I believe, whole peeled tomatoes. And I'm gonna add the juice with it. Let's see, these are peeled tomatoes. These are the San Marzano tomatoes, and we're just gonna go in with the broth. We're gonna go with the juice, and we're gonna throw it all in there. Don't really want that. So we're going in with these tomatoes. As you can see, I don't know if you can tell, but they are whole tomatoes in there. And what I am gonna do to bust those tomatoes up, because I don't want them too big, I'm gonna come in with one of these smasher things, and I'm just gonna run through these tomatoes real quick. If you had a hand blender, you could definitely run this through your hand blender. You could have even put this in your stand mixer, regular, or not stand mixer, I'm sorry. You could also put this through your blender if you wanted to, but I'm just gonna hit it with this. I just don't want really big chunks of tomatoes. A little bit of tomato is okay. And we're just gonna hit this with some tomato, and we're gonna grind that up just a bit. Nothing too crazy. We'll incorporate the rest of that into this, because we definitely want this to have a good bit of a tomato bite. And as this stews down and cooks down, these tomatoes will actually become sweet. Tomatoes are pretty acidic, but as you cook them down for a long period of time, they will become sweet. So you just give tomatoes some time, and they will become sweet. And now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna taste this one last time. We're gonna taste it one more time just for final seasoning and flavor. Now, because this is such a big pot of chili, I'm coming in with more spices. I really want this to have a really good amount of flavor. Going in with more cayenne. We're gonna go in with some more paprika. I'm gonna turn this down to low so nothing burns. I'm gonna go in with some more chili powder, because I really want this. Those tomatoes really took a lot of flavor away. So I'm gonna go in with some more chili powder. Some more cumin. About that much. A bit more oregano. About that much. And we're gonna hit it with just a touch more cinnamon. Maybe about that much. We'll go a little bit more. Let me stir this in. Get all these flavors combined. Oh yeah, that's smelling real nice. That is smelling real nice. Now, at this point, if you wanted to, you could add some beer to this. You can add like a nice little stout, a nice little dark beer. But honestly, I like it just like this. And you could just finish this chili just like this, but I'm actually gonna add a little bit of bone broth to create somewhat of a soupy consistency. And then I'm going to finish this in the oven to let it reduce down. And this is pretty much your chili. We are almost there. I'm gonna give this another little taste. Oh yeah. Yep, that's exactly it right there. That tastes amazing. So, oh yeah, that's hitting all the spice levels that I need. So at this point, I'm going to add a bit of bone broth. I have some leftover bone broth from when I was sick. Just want to add a bit of bone broth to this just to give it a little bit more depth of flavor. Probably about a half a cup to a cup of bone broth. About that much probably. Oh yeah. That is looking delicious. So as you can see, it's really wet. It's very, very loose in the consistency of it. Very loose, right? This stuff is loosey-goosey. The way this is going to tighten up and thicken up is in the oven. And I do have one more ingredient that I'm going to add to this at the very end. And spoiler alert, it is frozen corn. I like adding corn to my chili because of the fresh coolness that it adds. And I'm actually going to add one more thing to this that I totally forgot. And the last ingredient that I am going to add to this, because I like my honey, I like my chili sweet, I'm going to go in with a few tablespoons of honey and just let that incorporate. You could add some brown sugar to it. Some people do add brown sugar to their chili, but I like adding just a touch of honey. I feel like adding that cinnamon and adding the honey gives it a real game-changing depth of flavor that people can't really grasp at the first front of their taste buds. They can tell that there's something in it, but they don't know what it is. So I'm telling you, putting some of that cinnamon in there, adding a little bit of honey to make your chili on the sweeter side, definitely a good move to go. Yep, that's perfect. So from here, I am going to add this into the oven. Bring you guys down to the oven real quick. We're sitting at 325. This is going to go inside of the oven. And we're just going to let this thing go for 30, 45 minutes to an hour. We'll check it periodically and stir it around. And once this is complete, I'll bring you back with the final product. Let's go. All right, real quick, I messed up. Well, didn't really mess up, but I forgot a step. We got about 3 or 4 bay leaves, and we're gonna add those to the chili right now. If I can open up the oven door and take some of this chili down, we will. Open this bad boy up real quick, and we will add in our bay leaves, and I'm gonna stir that in real quick so it incorporates a nice flavor. Let's go. I'll bring you guys back as soon as this thing is finished with the final product. Nice, thick, and juicy chili. Let's go. "30 minutes in. This is how the chili's coming out so far. I think I'm gonna give it, it's still a little loose. I think I'm gonna give it another 30 minutes in the oven, and then we should be ready to go." All right, y'all, so here is the chili. It's been in the oven for the last hour, and I'm really liking the consistency of this. It is a little bit on the loose side, but as this cools down and chills out for a little bit, this will actually thicken up a bit. Look at that. Let's go. We're steaming over here. So yeah, this is the chili. I'm gonna let it chill out on the stove. No heat, just want it to cool down a bit. I did crank the temperature up to 350 after 30 minutes, and we're just gonna let this thing chill out on the stove. No heat, just let it all get nice and thickened up. Let it cool down a bit, and we'll come back with a nice fresh bowl of chili. Let's go. And here we have the final finished product of this chili in a bread bowl. with some cheese on top. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Try this recipe out. I know I didn't give you guys any measurements, but you can just apply all the same ingredients, throw them all together, and give it a try. So good. If I didn't mention too, I did put a little corn in there, so. See ya.